So there's a couple of things that I'm excited about this question for, and the first is I really do believe in coaching. I think coaching has a really important place, and the place is spacing out and reinforcing behavior in a social way, so that you keep the behavior up. There are many things I think all of us have encountered or learned in our lives that might be better for us personally in some way, whether it's emotionally or spiritually or health-wise, things that we've learned about our own careers. And that knowledge is sitting in there. Like, I know for a fact I am a much better performer if I get more than 8 hours of sleep. How many nights do I get 8 hours of sleep a week? 0, right? And it's all about, making sure that once you have started to acquire some skill or knowledge, that you have somebody or something that's keeping you accountable to keeping that behavior up, so that you get very confident with that behavior. You start to see how that behavior is going to help you, and then it becomes part of you. And that's really kind of the long-term role of, if you have the luxury of a coaching program, how that can help. Spacing that over time where, month over month, you might have 1 or 2 check-ins. How's it going? Did you encounter any problems with those behaviors? And just keeping it up. And it's just a check-in. We're not really thinking about applying a lot of new instruction. If you're encountering some sort of barrier, that's where a coach can help you think through the process. How can you, as an individual performer, step out of your current lane, reevaluate what you're doing to overcome that barrier and continue forward? But where I see digital programs really having an effect is way before that, getting comfortable enough in performing the behavior, becoming competent in what skills are required in order to be a successful performer, and actually doing that too over time. Organizations, I think, because of some of the constraints we talked about earlier about time and money and all that sort of stuff, will often treat an instructional performance as just a one-off. We're going to go for an hour, we're going to learn about this topic, and then nothing else happens afterwards. Well, the computer's still there, right? And so you can come back to those same skills or even different scenarios over months worth of time to become a really competent performer. And then after that, roll into some sort of a coaching session. And that's how you get wholesale change in behavior, is doing that for a long period over a time with social help.
Yeah. It's interesting you brought up the long-term component, because one of the things I really like and appreciate about digital-based training and education is the ability to track performance over time, and to, both for the individual, for units or teams within a company as a whole, all kinds of metrics and information that you can gather there to help improve performance, find areas that are lacking and then focus on those, different things like that. Almost impossible to do in an in-person classroom type setting without having some day-to-day, extremely hands-on work with the group, right?
Right.
Unless it's that type of a program, which just doesn't exist at the kind of corporate level, if you will. But I think that is one of the wonderful things about the digital medium, is that ability to do that and then tailor it to the student, to the company, to the needs of the user when they're doing it. We've talked a little bit about things that apply to learning and professional development across industries, trends that exist across the board. But the space industry itself is in a very unique kind of inflection point, the way I see it right now. Similar to the way computers and cyber and those things were transitioning in the 90s and the early 2000s from being a kind of an immature developing thing into a much more refined paradigm for professional development, where there's very specific wickets people hit and career paths. And I think space is still trying to figure that out. And at the same time, with all the growth and investment in technology and in new capabilities that are being brought to bear, we're seeing an enormous need for a new workforce or a growing workforce, and specifically upskilling or reskilling of people from different career paths coming into the space industry to fill these gaps. How do you see professional development and training being able to assist that for companies that have thousands of job posts, and essentially most of them space background is not a requirement.
Right.
It's a preferred. because it just doesn't exist, or they're being poached back and forth between different companies?
I think, one of the things that's really exciting across a lot of different industries, but specifically in something technical like space, is how organizations have started to invest in standardized training and certification for their people. You look at a company like Ernst & Young, and they took on the internal project of building certifications across a whole bunch of different technology ranges. And a whole bunch of ranges that they themselves weren't actually in practice currently for, but thinking about building up the workforce for tomorrow. And in doing so, they got a couple of big benefits. One is they were able to publicly say, hey, if you come and start working for EY, you're going to have the opportunity to learn about blockchain, and you're going to become proficient in how it could help another organization and really kind of change their overall business model. Not a service that they were currently offering, but something that a lot of people have been excited about. Those internal certifications, bringing in good subject matter experts from across a whole wide range of sources, not just internal expertise at EY, built an internal learning culture where professional development was something that was really valued by current employees for a long period of time. They felt that the opportunity to stick around at a job in EY, add more professional certification, not only helped them grow their career there, but if they decided to leave, they'd also be leaving with kind of this treasure trove of new skills and abilities that would show up at another organization. I think when we look specifically at space, there's going to be a whole wide range of industry potentials for certification and standardization on topics. The stuff that we've covered really is that foundational stuff that's going to be very durable for a very long time. You want to be a space professional, you need these foundational components. But we know, just like with every other industry, that some skills are going to be less durable than others. New technology is going to disrupt the way that we might do things in space. And so for the active professional working in the field, they're going to want to stay abreast of what all those new changes are, and being able to wrap that and encapsulate that with a digital certification that they can take with them from their current job to the next job is going to be something that's really valuable. And so holistically, when we look at the organization, having that sort of facility available for employees and for future employees is a way where you can really create this kind of tight-knit group that's going to want to stick around because they value what you're providing, not just the job and the role and the financial opportunity, but the personal growth opportunity for the individual.
It's interesting. So you talked about that growth and understanding the new changes that are occurring within the industry, and obviously that's going to happen and is happening currently. Another aspect I like of that is that it helps with that creativity of the group as they're looking at the current things that they're doing. I think too often companies tend to focus on, they should be focused on their primary function, right? But a lot of those breakthroughs that happen are when some outside thing is realized that can get brought in to disrupt or change how they're doing it, or adds some completely new component to it that can really expand their capability or their business or their revenue or all those types of things. And I think maintaining currency in the changes that are occurring within your industry and related industries is important. But that's when we get back to that kind of on-the-job training or mentorship way of doing internal training. It's really hard to do that.
Yes.
It's a lot easier when somebody's able to spend the time putting together that kind of quality content and bring that to your people without having to do that internally.
Right.
It's almost impossible to really keep up to date with that and cost prohibitive as well. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this, be sure to like and share it. If you'd like to learn more about what we do at NovaSpace, you can check us out at novaspaceinc.com. I look forward to talking to you again and working together to help grow the space industry and make it everything that it can be.